Hello, Flamingo. I would shout you out, but I think you're the only one here. Surprise. Hello. Surprise. We're here. Look, dessert potato. Um, I'm doing an experiment. First of all, somebody heckled me and said, "Oh, you stream more than one time a week. Um, just do whatever." Um, so here we are, doing whatever. I've got an experiment. I want to make potato candy. Now, that means two different things. And I don't want to make either of them because neither of them is what I feel like I want. Hence, experiment. Hence, I don't know what this is going to turn into. It's going to turn into something, but I don't know what. I'm also going to whip myself up a little lunch because it's lunchtime and I don't have a lunch, which will give us some thinking time, I guess. Um, I don't know what's going to happen today. Uh, Surprise! So the first thing I'm going to do is put some water in a pot so I can boil some potatoes. And then I guess peel some potatoes. Because there's going to be potatoes in our potato candy, which means it's like one of the kinds of potato candy. But I don't want it to look like them. Also, I only have this much confectioner sugar. I don't know if that's even enough. And also, I think I want to avoid putting dairy into these. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we're going with. I do have, you know, you know what might work. You know what might work. You know what might work. Let's let's because you need some like unctuousness. You need some like unctuousness, right? Why did I turn the heat on? The heat doesn't need to be on that pot. There's nothing in it. Just because I'm supposed to peel some potatoes first. All right, I'm already confused. You want to see what I'm like with no plan? Well, you have. You've seen what I'm like with no plan. Today I have a plan and no direction. We're gonna get out some potatoes and start peeling. Because at the very least, I know I'm gonna need some peeled potatoes. So hi, how are you? Happy Saturday. I didn't even really clean up the kitchen. I wasn't expecting to do this. And all of a sudden, sure, why not? So, How's your weekend going? Oop, bit of a gnarly spot on that one. If anyone's even here, you could all be bots. I feel like I want more potato. I think I can eat the extra. You can eat a potato, right? I think that's a thing. Eating a potato. Let's do one more. Make it a nice 4. So, the two kinds of potato candy that I'm aware of, there might be others, I'm not sure. But the two that come up when I do research are Southern style potato candy, which contain actual potato. It's mostly confectioner's sugar. Actual potato. The potato serves as a binder for the sugar. And then they're rolled with peanut butter into little pinwheel roulade thing. Which are probably quite tasty, but I don't want peanut butter and I don't want little roulades. I want my thing to look like a potato in the end. I'm just gonna rinse these off a smidge. And which brings us to the other kind of potato candy that I'm aware of, which is the Philadelphia potato candy, which they call Irish potato candy, but it's from Philadelphia, not from Ireland. And that one contains no potato, but they look like little potatoes, which is adorable. So what I want is a sweet confection of potato that also, in its finished state, looks like potato. And I am just going to experiment to that end. Ooh, that one's got a little bit of a gnarly middle. We are just going to neatly excise that. But I will need cooked potato for this, specifically mashed potato for this. Hence, potatoes, which we're just gonna boil in the simple method of put in water, boil. And I want quite a bit here. The reason I'm doing 4 at this stage is I think that there's going to be some maybe less than successful experiments. So I want to have enough potato to work with. To hopefully get an edible result at the end. Also, potatoes are delicious. So, ideally, you would still be able to taste the potato in these. I did try to look up just some research on dessert potatoes. And boy, does the internet want to interpret that as sweet potatoes, which are not potatoes and do not taste like potatoes. I like sweet potatoes, but they're not the same thing. Internet. I'm also going to whip up. I need to thaw something out. I'm going to whip up a quick lunch while we're working on this. Because it's lunchtime and I didn't eat breakfast. Okay, taters. Yeah, I didn't even really clean up the kitchen in full this time. There's lingering dishes from the week. Bob, hello, welcome. Did you catch any of my spiel of explaining what I'm doing? I'll say it all again. But hello. The Bob himself, who cajoled me and said, "Harry, you should do more than once a week." No, he caught no. Great. Let me go find out what my phone just said, if it's important at all. It's possibly it's an actual message. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's nothing. So there are 2 kinds of potato candy that I'm aware of. I've already said all this. People watching the VOD are going to be like, it's just said the same thing 3 times. There are 2 kinds of potato candy. The kind that are made out of potatoes and sugar, and then they're little peanut butter pinwheels, and they look nothing like potatoes. And the other kind that look like potatoes, but contain no potato. I want one that contains actual potato, and also looks like a potato. But I also want it to be tasty. Which might be the biggest challenge. And sweet while still tasting potatoy, which might even be a bigger challenge. So we're starting by, I'm walking in there with these, let's go up here. So we're starting with boiling some potatoes. I'm going to put some dishes away. There are clean dishes here that need to be put away, and dirty ones that have not been washed because the drying area was full. And yeah, I'm going to whip up a lunch at some point. Hope you're happy. Um, Anyways, hi Bob. How's it going? Happy time zone. Happy Saturday. Got any snow on your end? We got snow. In fact, it's currently actively snowing. Hooray! I thought it was going to turn cold and then not snow, but it looks like it turned cold and then also snowed, which is not my favorite. At least it didn't like rain a bunch first this time. So the goal, the ultimate goal today is to have a small sweet confection containing actual potato that is white or at least pale on the inside and brown on the outside. Size irrelevant, probably little bite-sized nibbles is what I would like little individual poppable things. Texture, I guess, doesn't super matter because I'm kind of making the thing up. They will be the texture that they are, but the texture should be something pleasant, which might be a challenge. Which might be a challenge. And things that have already occurred, and I would like to avoid putting dairy in them, the Philadelphia style, are made with cream cheese and butter and sugar. They are essentially little blobs of buttercream frosting rolled in. Well, the last time I made those, I rolled them in cocoa powder, which made them like chocolatey and bitter. But they're traditionally rolled in cinnamon, which is a whole different thing. Whereas the southern style ones contain way less butter. And I think the cream cheese is what makes them sticky, so that the stuff will, so that the, let's see. They want you to roast the potato and then scoop out the guts. They want you to micro the potato and then scoop out the guts. We're boiling our potato. I'm reading. I've got both of these recipes. I got a recipe for both of these things pulled up. We're not following either recipe, but I'm trying to figure out what the important bits are here. Oh, they beat the butter directly into the potato, not creamed with the sugar the way the cream cheese one does. So that suggests that this works fine. I would rather not do a creaming step. But then it beats in the powdered sugar until a dough of sugar forms. Oof. But it says it's going to be sticky because it says to roll out powdered sugar on your worktop, which is good. I want it to be sticky, and I'm not rolling this out, so I don't need to worry about that step. I can go directly from that sticky version to rolling them in a brown powdered coating, if I can get that stuff tasting good. That's going to be the issue. What flavor extracts do I have? This big jar that I pulled out is coconut oil, which melts at like summer heat temperatures, 80 degrees or something. Butter melts around 90 degrees. Another point of coconut oil. Yeah. So including butter in a confection gives you that soft texture so that the sugar doesn't just like harden up on you. That's why palm oil. Let's see. We could use ghee. Ghee has all the milky stuff taken out of it. Because they melt. You want something that's soft at room temp, the way butter is, so that, and butter gets away with it because it's got extra solids in it. Many of the purified fats just go right from liquid to hard. They don't have that soft, pliable state in between. They essentially go from wax to liquid and back. But the melting points are low enough that I gotta open the coconut oil. Ideally, this would be done with the coconut oil. So because that's the most dietary friendly version. I want to see how very odorless. I want to see how soft this stuff is currently at room temp. We'll use one of my weird spoons for it. Yeah, it's waxy. I still think we probably need some of it, but we'll probably have to melt it to incorporate it into the stuff. This is a refined coconut oil, so I'm also going to taste it as is. See how coconutty it is. Okay. It's extremely neutral in flavor. Let's see, we've got pandan. I could do cute and make a green potato. I've got almond. I like almond. I've got maple. I've got ranciette, lemon, and imitation vanilla. I'm going to thaw out a little piece of meat from our freezer of meats. I've been attempting to thaw something out for every meal because I need to knock the numbers down in here, and it doesn't happen unless I do it on purpose. Hmm. So I'm just putting some water in the sink to thaw that piece of chicken out real quick. Mashed potatoes can be made with coconut oil as a substitute for butter. Okay, yeah, that should give us our creaminess. I think that's gonna work. I think that's gonna work. Chicken can float around. I'm gonna make myself a little bit of a chicken stir fry for lunch. Or chicken something. No, who are we kidding? It's a stir fry. Put away bags. Okay, but the coconut should be fine. We'll put the ghee back rather than opening two things. What the heck was that sound? Oh, it's the neighbors doing stuff with the snow. Neighbors playing in the snow. Our potatoes are boiling. I'm gonna take the lid off and turn the temperature down a little bit so they don't boil over. Okay. Yeah. Meow. It's all right. It's okay. I feel more distracted, but also more chill than usual. With potatoes boiling, and yeah, I'm gonna make a quick lunch. We're gonna do just a very basic slice for the old onion. What else have I got? I've got cabbage, broccoli. Broccoli. Forgot I got broccoli. Suddenly I'm excited about broccoli. We're gonna take half of that guy, that half. Hang on to the other half. Ooh, and one of these little tiny carrots. Yes. What was that noise? Noises. It's all these noises. Take off a little dried off bit at the bottom. Rescue our florets. give this a very bias slice. I'm gonna need another bowl. I've been rearranging the kitchen a little bit. So some of my bowls have moved to the other room as a temporary measure. And unfortunately, I keep wanting to use them, so I should bring them at least closer during their temporary exile. So I don't have to go all the way to the front of the house. Broccoli. Mish, hello! Well, it's an experiment, both in terms of what I'm making and in terms of when I'm making. Bob here was heckling me about only doing one stream per week. Once upon a time, I did a regular Saturday stream. The idea was I would go to the farmer's market in the morning, and then I'd come back and cook what I found. And I did, in fact, choose that time slot for my European friends. I stuck with it for a while. Viewership was abysmal, and I gave up. But here we are again. So at the moment, I'm diverting my brain to making some lunch for myself. Chef. Hello. Say, you're more into sweets than I am. I want to run this concept by you. Selena! Everyone's showing up. Everyone realized I'm here. Let's shout out Bang. Say, chef, you're more into sweets than I am. I am attempting to make potato candy. And I know that that means two things. And one of those things contains potato and looks nothing like a potato, and the other thing contains no potatoes. And so there's southern potato candy, which is essentially a lot of sugar, some potato as a binder, and a little bit of butter. It's rolled out, filled with peanut butter, and then turned into little pinwheels. It contains some potato, but it looks nothing like potato. The other kind is Philadelphia potato candy, which is cream cheese and butter and sugar, formed into little potato-shaped blobs and then rolled in. They use cinnamon. I think cocoa powder looks quite nice. The thing is, I want one that looks like potato and contains potato. So I want to hybridize those concepts. I'm boiling up 4 potatoes, 4 russets right now. The pinwheel type potato candy was developed during the Depression in the South. I'm also cooking up lunch while we're thinking about this. I would like to get away with no dairy in my version. I think we can sub in coconut oil for the butter, and that should work. Whoa, whoa, things are happening. Brain cell, hi. You are familiar with potato candy. Okay, which potato candy are you familiar with, Brain cell? And do you think we can ruin it without ruining it? Hunger service. Hi, welcome, welcome. Anyways, we're boiling the potatoes because there's going to be potato in my version, whatever comes out of it. Don't mind the chicken. I also need lunch. Those aren't going into the candy. That one's probably done already. Okay, let that go a little bit. But I think I did look up the melting point of coconut oil. I've also got ghee, which would get us. It would be dairy, but it would get us away from the lactose in the milk solids. But I think coconut oil, because it has a fairly low melting point, should give us some of that softness. Butter does contribute to the flavor, but I also want this to taste at least a little bit like the potatoes that are in it. Speaking of potatoes, let's fish one out and see how they're coming along. Okay, Brain Cell's familiar with the southern style with the peanut pinwheels, which we're using as an inspiration. You say there's other kinds though. I've only seen that one. I'm in the north. When I see potato candy with potato in it, that's the one that always comes up. Yeah. I also want the potato candy to be good because I intended it to be given as a gift offering today. So it's somebody's birthday. Not mine though. In fact, it's somebody none of you know, so. But they like potatoes. So it is literally somebody's birthday. Um, our stir-fried lunch is going to be just some basics here. Oop, that's the end of that. That's the end of that soy sauce. Let's hit it with a little bit of mirin, a little bit of rice vinegar. Let those sizzle up a little bit. It's gonna live again because the way I do soy sauce is I buy these big, I buy the jugs and then I refill that bottle over and over again. So that bottle actually has a, I don't even know what the date on the bottle is anymore, but it's heckin' past. Heat up a little bit on that guy. Let's give it a dash of oyster. And what are we missing? Something spicy. We've got sweet, salty, sour, savory, spicy. And then I'm going to turn the heat up until I get a really hard sizzle on this. Let's see. I'm going to need a bowl for mashing potatoes. Bowl for mashing potato. Put away the unused potato. And a colander for draining potato. Boy, the word potato is hanging on by a thread. I tell you what. Pot holder. This is the kind of thing, I mean, this is a pretty big one because that onion took up a lot of room. But this is the kind of thing I like normally cook when I'm not show cooking. Okay, when I'm either not show cooking or when I'm not eating just the worst garbage. This is like the normal food that I cook. It's actually almost always some kind of a stir fry. And we're done. And it's done. When I'm really lazy and I feel like eating something and I have nothing to eat, I consume just instant garbage. Touched my noodles there. But this is a more normal, like, when I have a few minutes and I'm not the laziest person in the world. Hey, let's gussy it up a smidge with some garlic Krispies. And 2 colors of soy sauce. Or no, soy. Sesame. Not soy at all. Sesame. Sesame and not sauce at all. Sesame seeds. Okay. Whack in a chopstick, call it a day. I do this with ramen noodle packets. I don't use the powder, but ain't nothing more convenient than those little bricks of noodles. I'll take a photo for that for later. And then we're going to nibble on this while I do other stuff. Okay, so potatoes. I did kind of overdo them, but that should be fine. I want them to be real soft. Let's get out the ricer. I've actually got a new thing which I don't think we're going to use for this, but I'll show you anyways, because I just got it. It was $5, and it is something I've actually been looking for. So having actually finally found one is exciting. Having actually finally found one of these with a pestle. I don't think we're going to use it today, but hey, new toy. It's for, so this one is the hard kind, not the very fine mesh kind. The fine mesh ones are used for straining out all of the solids from a stock and giving you an extremely clear stock. This kind is used for like pressing the seeds out of soft fruits. And that stuff is for putting in my face hole. Okay, I gotta tidy up a little bit because we're getting tight on room already. So, if we go by our southern potato candy style, 1 large russet potato. So about a quarter of that, maybe about a third of that if we assume large, to 6 cups of powdered sugar, which is a terrible way to measure powdered sugar. Powdered sugar is incredibly compressible, more so than flour. So, points off there. And to that amount, 2 tablespoons of butter. Salted butter, and I agree that we're going to need some salt. So let's grind some salt. About that much. We don't need a ton, but you need some salt to make your sweets pop. I used to buy popcorn salt, which is about that fine, until I realized it just takes like 2 seconds to grind your own salt in a mortar. So I just buy coarse salt, and if I ever need finer salt, I can grind it down. I can't coarsen it up, but I can always grind it down. Okay, some salt. 2 tablespoons of butter to about, I want to say about a third of that. Ricer. Ow. 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 Turns out, when it's steaming, it's hot. Let's just move this out of my way. A little bit too much in there. Okay, okay, okay. Gonna set that like that. I need a scraper. You're gonna need a spatula for multiple reasons, so. I don't want it to be completely cooled off because I want the coconut oil to melt. When I put it in there. Okay, we will hang on to that. We can try more. Yeah, it was pretty hot. I think it was pretty hot. Okay, we're gonna pack the potatoes around the coconut oil. We're gonna add our salt. Let that melt into itself a little bit. Eat some more of my delicious lunch. So what I did for the stir fry sauce is I grabbed a salty, a savory, a sweet, a sour, and a spicy. And I threw them all on there. And that's it. And that's how you do it. It was rice vinegar, mirin, sriracha, oyster sauce, and soy sauce. But it'll work with pretty much anything that fits into those categories. A dab of honey, splash of Worcestershire sauce, crystal hot sauce, anything. The flavor profile will change, but as long as you've got one of each of those, you're going to end up with a pretty good, like, Asian style, not necessarily Asian flavored, but Asian styled sauce. Okay. I think I want to add just a dash of vanilla to this. Actually, we're going to taste it as is. It tastes like potatoes, but it does have a little bit of a creaminess to it, which is good. But we're going to throw in a dash of vanilla. And then I guess we start adding powdered sugar, and then we see what happens. And then we see what happens. Perhaps I should sift the next one. There's a few lumpy lumps in here. Ooh, and it immediately goes liquidy too as the sugar draws moisture out of the potato. And we form a batter. Powdered sugar is such a weird ingredient when you aren't expecting it. It behaves very strangely. It is a dry ingredient that makes things more liquidy. But I'm going to sift the next one in because I don't think that we can handle the lumps all day. Poke the other ones through. Okay. Much less lumpy. So yeah, our goal, I believe, is to turn this into a Play-Doh-like consistency. And this is why I wanted to make sure that our potatoes were Christ. Any lumps in the potato would be lumps now in this state. Scrape down our side. Add more. So anyone who knows more about candy making or confecting than me, please immediately step in if you think I'm doing anything strange or wrong. You believe in me. I don't, but that makes one of us. Sweets are not my wheelhouse. And powdered sugar especially always throws me with how much liquid it can, it will take up. The turny thing helps like push lumps into the mesh, which should help it break those up. But I don't know. My sifter has a turny thing. I walked over here, and then I started talking to you, and then when I got over here, I forgot what I was going over there for. So it must not have been important. Oh, I know what it was over there for. That tastes like vanilla sugar. That stuff tastes exactly like vanilla and sugar. Let's see if I put the whole shebang in there and just shake it. Oh yeah, it way slower with without the turny thing. Good call. What is this? What do you mean, what is this? Oh, I didn't even have a glass ready. Pause. Pause. I have to find my water glass. I didn't even have it ready to go. What a fool I am. That I would, on this of all days, not be ready. Chef, thank you for the moisten. Moist. Ooh boy. This stuff might this stuff might need some help setting. I think we're going to use up all of my powdered sugar, and if it's not set at that point, I have no backup. I do not have another container of powdered sugar. I just hope we get there before that stage. This is probably why it says to microwave the potato instead of boiling it, because boiling it definitely adds more liquid. Waste my sugar. Big lump. Get in there, big lump. If it comes down to it, we will try adding starch, yes. I don't know the ins and outs of the science behind this well enough to tell you if that will work. There was not salt in the boiling water, but I did add salt to this mixture. I do have potato starch. We could add some potato starch to this to actually, you know what I've got? You know what I've got? You know what I've got? This stuff. Instant mashed potato. That would probably cause this to seize a little bit. Can't forget to eat my lunch on the way. Good call on the broccoli. This is definitely thickening. I'm going to keep adding sugar because we haven't got up to the point where because it was, I don't know what the volume of one of these is. It's one of those like takeaway soup containers. So it's a pint. So I've added, that's more than a pint. Anyways, we're adding more sugar before I move in on potato. Where did I? Oh, over there. Why over there? Never measure powders by volume. I can't believe we are in the year of our Lord, 2026, and people are still measuring powders by volume. Sure, we can use the European measurement. It's slightly less than a European pint. European pints are bigger than American pints. we're actually getting to the point where this is starting to thicken, so this might work out. It's not, at very least, it's not like clear anymore. It's getting more of a like wet frosting texture as I keep adding sugar. It is supposed to be candy after all, not sweet potato. The vanilla still comes through. I know in England you can order a pint, and their pint is bigger than our pint, and that's a point of contention. Um, I think in most of mainland Europe they go with deciliters. I know in Sweden they like to use deciliters for those sort of in-between volumes. Medium. Okay, now if I want this to taste more potatoey, I'm going to have to add potato instead of powdered sugar at this stage. But we are definitely reaching the point of it starting to thicken. Obviously, it's still quite a battery batter, but it's getting stiff on my scraper. I don't know if we're going to have the wherewithal to be cute and make some of them green. I thought of that. Be like, ooh, roulette, some green potato mixed in with the white potato, which would be our pandan. I also think that this definitely needs more of the vanilla flavor if we want to make it taste like not just sugar. 300 tablespoons of beer. 1/5 of a cat of beer, please. Americans will use anything other than the metric system to measure. Where's my pestle go? Pestle. 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 Put it there. Okay. I think this needs to be truly powderized, so because the flakes are supposed to rehydrate in boiling water. So I think grinding it into a powder should help with the fact that this water's not Not boiling. Ooh, yes. Immediately starts seeing a texture change. We'll see how long it lasts as the sugar gets a hold of it, but it didn't last very long. We need more. Um, if this works, after all this nonsense, I'm going to have to do it again so that I can get measurements. Because boy, are we not in measurement territory right now. I also just added more liquid, you know, to make things slightly harder for myself. You know what? Instead of doing the grindy way, it's the right way. But it's also the not the right way. You know, I considered at the beginning of this all doing this with just instant mash. And then I didn't. And I committed to using whole potatoes. Oop, almost dropped the whole thing in there. What time is it? Ugh, 1:15 already. I need to pick up the pace. What does this taste like after adding those in? Tastes a lot like sugar. Did we just start dumping? Did we just start dumping stuff in there? Are we dumpies? Is that the thing? Oops. I think we might be dumpies. What happens if I put the potato flakes in here? They don't really work. We're gonna have to vacuum after this. There's powders all over the place. Delicious powders. I don't know. This stuff's got to. This would be the kind of thing to do with a stand mixer. Then I could just add bit by bit until the consistency is right, and then stop. But have like the thing running the whole time. It's standing up. It's holding its shape. It's doing the thing. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. We might have just crossed that threshold. I know that's how powdered sugar works, but man, it always feels like it's not going to work until it suddenly does. Uh, can I overmix it? I have no idea. I have absolutely no clue. I do think we have to switch to a wooden spoon, though, because it's stiff enough that it's not liking the spatula all of a sudden. It's a good sign, though. It's a good sign. Again, I want this to be like a Play-Doh consistency. Yeah, Plato, the Greek philosopher. He was famously like stiff and moldable, stiff but moldable. It was the whole thing. Try to keep up. Well, it still wants to kind of sag into itself, but we are definitely in the realm of it being like close. What's our flavor? Sweet. The primary flavor I'm getting from this is sugar. Ah. So hey, what are y'all doing? What is everybody doing? It's Saturday. I never get to see you guys on a Saturday. I've been so distracted by my project. I'm barely engaging with my adoring public. What's up? How's it going? I want this to work. Oh, it's definitely right on the edge of it. Reading a book before the library yanks it back. Are libraries more aggressive where you live? which is I want to say Rhode Island. That might not be correct, but it's what I'm going with. Are libraries more aggressive in Rhode Island? Okay. Oh yeah, that one is not stiff enough. I need something in between, and I think it's going to be the little red scraper taking over duties here, because I want to scrape the sides together. It's thick. It's definitely got the consistency of like a no-knead dough, but I know it's not going to firm up because there's no gluten, because it's made out of potatoes and sugar. But I think we're reaching the limits of what I can push into it without getting my hands involved. How sticky is it? Sticky enough that if I put my hands in it, we're going to have a problem. Sticky enough that if I put my hands in it, we're going to have a problem is a problem. But if I dust my hands with powdered sugar, I can touch it. Okay, well, we're foolishly committing to this, I guess. The thing is, I want the finished product to be slightly sticky on the surface. So we can't afford to let this dry out completely. But we are getting to that dough stage. That dough. And ideally, I would not use all of my powdered sugar because I would like to have a little bit of it in our dusting. What do I need? I need, oh, I know what I need. I've got the thing. I possess the tool. It's one that I use so rarely that I forget I have it. This. I am just kind of rolling it around, hoping to pick up some of the dried bits from the sides rather than add fresh. Indeed, a bowl scraper, a true bowl scraper. Although the stuff is still sticky to the point of being sticking to the bowl scraper. It kind of is holding its shape. We need to get it to the point where I can pinch a bit off, roll it up, and it'll stay. And we're not quite there. It still kind of melts. Now the bench scraper to clean the bowl scraper. Yeah. We're still at the stage where it kind of melts. And I don't want to add more sugar. I think we're going to firm it the remaining way with our instant mashed potatoes. Let me wash my hands real quick. Or let me just rinse my hands underwater because this is all sugar and it'll just dissolve. In that way, this is way easier to work with than a flour dough. But we're adding more potato. This is nonsense. Anyways, there is no way for me to go back and measure this. But dang, am I tempted to like pre-measure a bunch of stuff and try this again. The fact that I need to use an ingredient that does not exist and have to modify is also not a huge endorsement of this recipe. Just go ahead and make yourself some potato powder. You're gonna need it. Okay, how sticky are we? Pretty sticky. How doughy are we? Like it's super soft. Sticking to my hand isn't the big issue. What do you think? It's just about holding its shape. Hunger service, goodbye. Yeah, this is a well, as it says, this is an experiment. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for sticking around. Good to see you. It shouldn't be too much longer. I keep adding powder to this. I keep adding more and more powders to this. Do I add more potato? Do I just keep going until I've got like a gnocchi dough? It's never going to bind the way I think I want it to, simply because there's no flour in it. We're just relying on potato starch, the starch from the potato. Which I could also just add straight up potato starch. I think we're being stymied a little bit by the fact that I used a boiled potato at the start instead of a baked potato, which just introduced way more liquid, which made it much harder to overcome. And I wonder if just letting our thing dry out first wouldn't have been the best move. Just because we're right, I feel like we're right on the cusp. But I've felt we're right on the cusp before the last two editions, and I still feel like we're just kind of right on the cusp. I'm trying to scrape off the little dried bits from my various spatulas. Yeah, it still wants it's just a little bit too sort of sagging into itselfy. My hands are sticky. My hands are very sticky. We got out the potato starch, just straight up potato starch. Okay. I forced it. I forced it with some potato starch. And we're gonna let it pick up bits. There's a lot of little fragments of some other stuff there. Sugar and flours and potatoes and all sorts of stuff on the board. It doesn't need to be kneaded for gluten development, but I would like it to be really evenly mixed. Oh, it's getting sticky again right away. That's going to keep happening. I guarantee it. But we have achieved a dough that mostly holds up. I can form a ball. That approximately holds its shape. So, we're going to move on to part two, finally, at long last, part two of our two-part project. We are washing our hands with actual soap. We are also going to get out a piece of parchment. Have you stuck? You have not. Ooh, good sign. While still being ever so slightly tacky on the bottom. Good sign, good sign. Okay, I got sugar on my foot. I got sugar on the floor. Doesn't look much like a potato, does it? No. No, it doesn't. Which is why we add this stuff to it. Why are you clumpy and falling and poofing on me? Oh my God. Why has my cocoa powder gone clumpy? It oughtn't be. Okay. Okay, cocoa powder. Stop being a menace. You know I'm an actual human. Okay, that came out of nowhere. Hello. Oh, I mean, I don't know if most. I know the ones that show up in like the recommendeds are a lot of reruns of like cooking shows that used to be on TV. Hi, welcome. I am a real person. I am actually cooking right now in front of you. Well, I wouldn't call this cooking, but hello, welcome in. We're doing a. Oh my God! Stop poofing. We are doing a bizarre experiment. Have we? I don't recall. Well, if so, good to see you again. I have no measurements for you on the thing that I'm making. We struggled to get it to the point where it was a cohesive dough. And then all of a sudden it was a cohesive dough. So there. Birria chili. Ooh, that sounds lovely. That sounds lovely. I don't think I've ever done. I don't think I've ever done or had or seen that. I've, of course, familiar with the parts, but not the finished whole. And then we roll these around in this stuff. And they come out looking like little potatoes. And before I commit to doing all of them, we should taste test. To make sure that this works. Roll off the excess. Cocoa hands. Huh. No, we're not frying these. These would melt and burn. They're very sweet. Honestly, I want the cocoa to be even more bitter to balance it out. I want the cocoa to be even more bitter to balance it out. What if I added a little bit of coffee to it? Hmm. What else can we... They're very sugary sweet, which I should not be surprised about, and am not, but they're perhaps a little bit too sweet, and they need something to help balance them back. Cinnamon's an option. Cinnamon would give us a little bit of character, maybe. I was also thinking of peanut. I have peanut butter powder. Would smaller pieces work? Honestly, I think smaller pieces is the way to go. They're very sweet as it is, and they need to be balanced with more of the exterior. Oh, dang it! Stop doing that. Cocoa and sugar everywhere. Every time I tip over the cocoa to pour some out, it fucking poofs. Pardon my language, but it's frustrating. Let's try a smaller one. Make them more poppable. Use the fork this time. Mmm. They're still very sweet. Okay. What do they need? Interestingly, I can taste a little bit of potato coming through, which is good. But what do they need? What does this outer layer need? Mortar. You know what's more bitter than cocoa? Coffee. Instant espresso. I also think we need some salt. I think we're very one-noting this. I considered putting some powdered sugar in the outside, but we definitely don't need more sweetness. Some fine potato powder in there. Okay. Got things, mixed them in. They will disappear now into the brown mass. But hopefully they will give us some more character. Well, the salt comes through. The coffee comes through. The potato comes through. I can still taste potato in there. It's not real strong, but it's definitely in there. I think I'm going to say it's good enough and just soldier forth. It's not bad. Making them smaller definitely helps. And don't drop them quite so aggressively. The mass over here is definitely starting to dry as well. And also I got to wrap this up. As I mentioned earlier, these are for a birthday. I got to get there. I can't say that they're my favorite thing in the world. I think... what would I do? What would I do? I think if I started with just instant mashed, so that it was dry to begin with, ground that into a very fine powder. First. Because I think the big fight was trying to get the consistency together. And I ended up adding a ton more sugar than I think I wanted to in the quest to get the stuff to not be a puddle. Probably will go down alongside gnocchi as one of those things that's just more convenient, much easier using instant powdered mash. So yeah, I guess I'm winding us down because there's not going to be another formal tasting of this. I've already been kind of talking about them. They you can taste the potato. It's not real strong. They're very sweet. I kind of wish I could dial back on the amount of sugar. I might do these. I might do these again with what I learned from today. Probably shouldn't have done the experiment for the gift, but here we are. Too late now. They also come across as a little bit one note. Turns out potatoes don't have a ton of flavor all on their own. Also, just letting this blob of dough dry out a little bit has helped. It's getting firmer and easier to work with just as I work with it. And I can feel it drying slightly. So it's good that I put the oil in at the beginning, because I think these would probably turn into little rocks if I didn't have some fat in there to lubricate them. Now I'm worried that there isn't enough for the sheer volume of sugar that I put in. Because we kind of made a potato flavored icing. And then rolled that into balls. Or did we make a fondant? I don't know. We sure made us something. So yeah, that was the experiment. And this happened today. Well, I mean, this was going to happen today regardless, but the stream happened today entirely because Bob was heckling me about not streaming my random nonsense. So you can thank Bob for this mess. Okay, that's all of them. We're going to wash our hands real quick because they definitely got sugar, potato with sugar on them. Potato sugar. That's a phrase. And then we bury our potatoes in their potato dirt. And there they are. In fact, I'm going to transport them in this thing. I am going to have to clean up this mess before I go, so we should wrap up so that I can do that. So yeah. Wash my hands again so I can touch the computer without getting sugar and cocoa all over it. So yeah, they're a little bit too sweet. I'm hoping sitting in the cocoa powder will also help them firm up a little bit as the cocoa kind of pulls in some of the moisture. And maybe even like get some extra adhesion. Because I think it wants that bitter flavor on the outside. They've worked... ... they're not a fail. They're not as smashing a success as I was hoping. And again, I probably shouldn't have done the experiment. The experimental form of them today, of all days, on this, the day of today. But I did, and it's too late now to take that back. So there we go. I don't think I do enough experiments with you guys that are like true experiments. We do some. I do some. I don't do nearly as much as I think I should. Just the nonsense level ones. I have no idea who's on today, and I will not be able to stick around past any raid. So I'm thinking I'm just going to sign us off, unless there's really compelling reason to take a raid. I could drop you all off at Ilana playing Blueprints if you want. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to sign us off. So yeah, dessert potato. They're a thing. They're a thing. I think I have some notes as to how I might fix them, because they do need fixing. They're not a smash success. There are some notable issues. We'll see how they're received on the other end. Yeah, so I'm going to sign us off. As always, thanks for showing up. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for coming out for the surprise Saturday nonsense. As I once promised, hey, if I've got the time, I'll just pop in and do some nonsense on a random day. Well, that was today. So thanks. Hi, good to see you. I will perhaps try to pre-announce in the future if I do a random day. Or it might just be one of these where it's like, we're doing it. Strap in, kids. Who knows? We're out of the Christmas season, so I have time. I had time most of last year and wasted it. So just having the time does not necessarily mean I will be here, but it would be nice. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap us up. I already said thanks, and then I rolled back around. Thanks for the follow, and I will see you on Monday. Yeah, I'll be back on Monday for something more normalish. For something from the freezer hole, because we've got freezer food that's got to get unfreezed and eaten. So something from the freezer hole. You tell me on the Discord which freezer hole thing you want me to cook. And I'm going to do a moisten for Bob before I go. Moist. Bye. Let's